Under Kamala's extreme high-cost energy policy known as net zero, you know what net zero, they have no idea what it means, by the way. It's net zero. What does that mean? Nobody knows. Ask her what it means. We're going to go to a net zero policy. What does that mean? I have no idea.
Okay, I have to give Donald Trump credit coming out of that video. He correctly pronounced Kamala Harris's name. Maybe by accident, but he did it. So plus 1 point to Donald Trump, and then negative 1.5 million points for clearly not knowing what net zero means. And the way that he betrays his ignorance is so predictable, so repetitive. When he doesn't know a thing, he just says other people don't know the thing. That's it. He does it literally every time.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
And so if you're a regular person, and if you don't know what net zero means, either in general or on like a deep level where you could like explain it, that's okay. You don't need to. You're not trying to be the president of the United States. You're going about your life and it's difficult. Donald Trump, though, has already been president. He wants to be president again. And he has repeatedly told us that he is an expert on energy as well as many other things. And yet he doesn't know this incredibly simple concept. Well, just in case he's watching, or maybe like Marjorie Greene can send him a text message or something, net zero means resulting in neither a surplus nor a deficit of something specified when gains and losses are added together. I think you could go simpler than that. The basic idea is we are unlikely in the short term to not emit any emissions in general or carbon specifically. It's gonna happen, but we can offset it. So the end result of all of that is net zero, or maybe call me radical, net negative. I think we should go for net negative in the future, but net zero in the short term would be nice. That's it. That's like, I know I'm supposed to, like, should I read a bunch of graphics? Like explaining exactly what forms it comes in, like, okay, here's where we're still gonna be emitting carbon, and then here's carbon capture and sequestration, and here's the filters we can put on like coal plant. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that because it is really that simple to understand. And Donald Trump is simply too stupid, in addition to many other things, to be president. But the reason that I wanna talk about this isn't just because he's a dumb donkey. I wanna talk about it because if he becomes president, we are not going to be net zero. We are going to be emitting far more than we are right now. And you can think, as you can think so many things about Donald Trump's dark future, you could thank Project 2025 for that, because an analysis by Energy Innovation, a think tank, found that Project 2025 set of policy proposals, if they were to be instituted, would add 2.7 billion tons of CO2 while also killing the better part of 2 million jobs. And so I know that sometimes to make an omelet, you have to break some eggs, but the end result is supposed to be an improvement in your life, at least in terms of food. The idea that those eggs you're breaking would be millions of American jobs. Net, by the way, I don't mean to confuse Donald Trump or anything, but net negative 1.7 million jobs is really bad. And by the way, you probably already know this, but in addition to all the other ways that our worsening climate is making the world a worse place, it is also bad for the economy. Based on current warming trends, the Office of Management and Budget predicted that climate change could reduce the country's gross domestic product or economic output by as much as 10% by the end of the century. That translates into an annual revenue loss to the federal government of 7.1%, or about $2 trillion in today's dollars. For perspective, the Biden administration's entire proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 is $5.8 trillion. And look, we can go into all the different ways that the worsening economy makes it harder to do work outside, causes people to miss work, harms American agriculture, all of these things, ruins infrastructure that then needs to be repaired pointlessly. We could go into all of that, but the end result is it's really bad for the economy. And when you're throwing around figures like $2 trillion that we're gonna be losing each year as a result of this, when they throw around those supposedly scary figures about the Green New Deal is a goddamn bargain, okay? And that's not me as some sort of like green crazy saying that. It is just a fact. Doing nothing, allowing our climate to continue to be devastated, maybe even worse in the future, is way more expensive than fixing the problem. And that's not even paying attention to the fact that obviously we'd reap all the other benefits of like being able to go outside from time to time. And so anyway, in terms of Project 2025, the authors wrote that while fossil fuel sectors would have more jobs, this is the analysis of the overall result, the fossil fuel sectors would have more jobs under Project 2025. Those job gains would be more than offset by job losses elsewhere in the economy due to the lost green jobs. And that might be confusing to you, but it really shouldn't be. You already know how few people work, for instance, in coal in America. It's talked about a ton. Almost no one works in that field. And when they build oil pipelines, it makes, as they're building it, a number of jobs that you might get like at an average Arby's. And then for maintenance, it's far fewer. And so there just aren't a lot of jobs in this. But in the green sector, the green energy sector, there are a lot of jobs, not temporary jobs, good paying, competitive long-term jobs. And so if you want to ruin the economy and make your summers worse and make it harder for us to grow food and maybe wreck the coastlines while also losing 2 million jobs, feel free. They've got a way for you to do that. Just have Project 2025. But if you're not interested in that, we need to reject Donald Trump this November. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?